Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Veterans Virtual Job Fair. Today, we will be hearing from 6 employers hiring for positions across multiple industries. Each employer will speak for 10 minutes to give you some information about their company and will highlight the job openings they currently have. If you have any questions at any time, please type them into the chat and we will address them during the Q&A session that will be taking place after all the employers have presented. Today's session is being recorded and will be made available in the employer booths for you to refer to later. Now, I am pleased to introduce Richard with IDES. Richard?
Good morning. On behalf of the Illinois Department of Employment Security's Acting Director, Richards, welcome to today's Veterans Virtual Recruitment Series. Thank you to our employers, military service members, and spouses for taking part in today's event. A special thank you to our workforce partner, Illinois workNet, for helping to facilitate the activities. My name is Richard Withridge, Statewide Veterans Program Manager for IDES. I served in the Army Field Artillery and retired after 22 years. I've been with IDES since 2003 and Statewide Veterans Program Manager since 2014. Today, we want to focus on our featured employer panel to find out more about their businesses and job opportunities, including how to apply. Today, we have the Belleville Boot Company, Continental Tire, Geodis, the Illinois State Police, Walgreens Distribution. As job seekers, you may want to take notes and pick up on keywords used by the speakers to possibly incorporate into your resumes. At this time, I turn it over to our Veterans Business Specialist, Alan Buckner.
And Alan, this is Daniel. You want to push *6. Well, while Alan is working that issue out, I will go ahead and introduce the first employer. First up, we have Continental Tire with Bridget McConnell. Bridget, are you available to present? Hi, Bridget.
Hey, good morning.
You can begin whenever you're ready.
All right, great. Well, good morning to everyone. I've got myself here and I also have Jennifer Porter. I don't know, are you able to see me on the camera?
I am not. It looks like your video settings are disabled. If you want to put yourself on the screen, you can.
Sure.
There you go.
You see me now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, perfect. So I've got Jennifer with me here. Good morning. So we're going to go through briefly just kind of some of our opportunities. Hopefully everyone is somewhat familiar with us. We're located here in Mount Vernon. We are a tire manufacturer, employ roughly around 3,500 people in the Southern Illinois region. So with that, I'll go ahead and am I able to skip to the next slide? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this just kind of gives a brief overview of our corporation. I'll let you guys kind of read most of the information on there, but the one thing I like to always point out is the tire division. So we have 5 different divisions. Tires is our largest one. So within the continental scope of being a global employer, you know, we do have a lot of focus on our particular location here in Mount Vernon as we produce tires for them. So large corporation, but we're a big piece of that here in Mount Vernon as well. Worldwide, we're in approximately 544 locations in over 60 different countries. So what that translates to for the average person is a lot of global opportunities. So there are a lot of advantages to working for a global corporation, which we'll touch on here in just a moment as well. As far as the Mount Vernon location, we're celebrating our 46th year here. Been here since 1974. Some people might know us as General Tire or GT. We've been Continental for quite some time now, but the name still sticks as we do still produce a lot of General Tires here as well. This is just kind of a brief aerial view showing our growth over the years. If you could maybe just push enter, I think there's a couple things that pop up for this slide. Yeah, thank you. So what you see in the red there is our original General Tire plant. In 1974, we had about 100 employees who worked at that location. Over the last 10 years or so, we've really expanded quite a bit into what you see there in the Continental yellow, I call it, is all the additional square footage we've added. So right now we've got about 100 square acres under roof. So a lot going on within our plant. Our mixing department, actually one of the largest mixing facilities in the world. We have over 21 mixing machines producing over 5 million pounds of rubber each day. And then our warehouse actually is doing about 130 trucks per day. They say a tire hits the warehouse about once every 2 seconds. So a lot of tires going out of our facility each day. As far as growth in people, I recently discussed we are at about 3,500 employees. I believe that makes us the largest employer within Southern Illinois, south of Peoria, I believe. Steady growth over the years, a lot of stable employment we're able to offer as well. So the main position that I want to touch on today is the hourly production. We do also have salary jobs available as well on our website. That's www.continental-jobs.com. I definitely would encourage you to check those out as well. If there's something you're interested in, all the requirements are listed right on there. But as far as hourly production goes, the main requirements for that are that you have to have a high school diploma or a GED, excellent attendance and work ethic, and you must be able to work weekends and night shift. Our shifts are based around seniority, so typically a new hire will get hired in to work either a weekend or a night shift straight off the bat. Some of the general benefits that we have are a 40-hour work week schedule. Our starting pay is going to be anywhere from about 18 to 20 an hour, depending on the position, and then there are some shift differentials in there as well. And then also a full benefits package starting on the first day of employment, which if you'll skip to the next slide, we can discuss kind of what that benefits package looks like. So we're really proud of the benefits that we're able to offer here to our employees. We offer major medical, dental, and vision insurance options. We have different plans depending on what is going to work best for you and for your family. The medical, we have 3 different options, dental, 2 different options, and vision, 2 different options as well. We also offer company paid life insurance, AD&D, and short-term disability insurance. One of the best benefits though that we have in my opinion is our 401k. It comes with a 6% company match. Some other good ones are the 11 paid holidays per year. We also offer paid time off starting right away. We have an on-site fitness center, so that's pretty cool. It's staffed with athletic trainers, so you can go in and use the gym anytime, 24/7. They also offer physical therapy and nutritional benefits there as well. Some other great things, the quarterly and annual bonus that we offer as well to employees. The quarterly one is based around how the Mount Vernon plant specifically does. Our annual bonus looks at how Continental does as a company worldwide. And then lastly is the tire and vehicle discounts. So of course, since we're making tires here, we offer a pretty good discount on the product itself. So each employee is allowed to get 12 tires per year at roughly about 60% off the market rate. So pretty good discount when it comes to tires, obviously a more expensive product. So, and then the other thing I'd like to touch on, if you'll go to the next slide, is our tuition assistance program. So we have a new program we started here in the last few years called Conti University. So that is a partnership actually with Wren Lake College, where you can earn an Associates of Arts in Business. And that is offered to our employees and to their immediate families as well. So if you have a spouse or a child who is interested in going back to school, earning their associate's degree, you can do that here on site at Continental. If you'll go on to the next slide, that kind of gives a little more info about it. So we offer all the on-site placement here, all the testing for that. You can do that here on-site. We schedule it around your shift as well, so it's really flexible for being a working adult. And then the classes just cost you $25. So that includes your tuition, your books, everything is included in that. So all in all, you can go and get your associate's degree for roughly about $500 versus if you were to go and do the same exact courses at Rend Lake, you'd be paying probably a little over $11,000. So the savings are significant. And of course, that opens up a lot of doors for you within Continental, because we do like to promote from within. So once you have that associate's degree, really the sky's the limits for a lot of positions here. So it's a great way to do that. If you'll go to the next slide, that just kind of gives some sample coursework, so you can kind of skip through that one. So if you already have an associate's degree and you're interested in going back to school and getting maybe a bachelor's or a master's degree, we have programs for that as well. So that was one myself I actually took advantage of, went back and got my bachelor's finished up in 2019 and got my bachelor's degree. Continental helped pay for that significantly. They offer $5,250 per year. Only stipulation with that is that you do have to stay employed with them for at least 24 months after that. You have to receive at least a C or higher in your classes, and it has to be a degree that's going to relate back to some type of career field that we have here, opportunities within Continental for. So pretty great opportunities though that we have for that. And then lastly, I just wanted to share kind of some general expectations that we do have for all employees. Our new employee probation, that does last the first 6 months. During that time, an employee's performance and attendance is evaluated by their supervisor each month. So each month they'll look at how you're doing and meet with you, let you know if there's anything that you do need to improve on, or let you know what you're doing well too. Attendance is another big one that we have, of course. We do operate on a point system, so just kind of something to be aware of. It's pretty standard, nothing too crazy, but just something we like to make people aware of off the bat. And then the other big thing, of course, is we are a drug-free workplace. So we do pre-employment testing for that as well. And then lastly, we just request that people have the ability to work safely as well within their environment. So that you follow all of the basic safety rules that have been put in place too. All right, so hopefully I said something or you saw something that kind of sparked your interest in a career at Continental. I think it's a great place to work. Like I said, I've been here almost 3 years now, and it's been a really great time. So if you are interested in employment with us, what you'll need to do is just go online and fill out an application. Be sure that you do filter to Mount Vernon, Illinois, as we are a global company. You'll see a lot of locations on there, so just be sure you filter down to Mount Vernon, submit your application, and then from there we will reach out to you with some more information. So really appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to me talk today, and if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer those.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you.
And I'd like to introduce myself now. My name is Alan Buckner. I am a local Veterans Employment Representative, Veterans Business Specialist with the Illinois Department of Employment Security, and I am also a retired Air Force. And I'd like to welcome now Geodis, and Jamie Loyette will be speaking for them. She's the field recruiter.
Thank you, Alan. Good morning, everyone. Like Alan mentioned, my name is Jamie Loyette. I am the recruiter for Geodis at the St. Louis campus. I also help manage the recruiting for the Kansas City, Missouri campus, Colorado, Michigan, and Ohio. I'm excited to have this opportunity to share some information about our company. Geodis is a supply chain operator, ranking one of the top in its field, and we have 5 lines of business. We are the fourth largest third-party logistics party in the world. A third-party logistics company is also known as the 3PL, which is responsible for housing our customers' products, and we fulfill orders, and we directly distribute to both retail and directly to customers. At Geodis, our best assets are our people. Without our employees, we could not do what we do. Being a part of our Geodis family is much more than moving a box from point A to point B. We are part of a chain that gets multitude of products into consumers' hands, which is very essential right now with everything that's going on. Next slide, please. A little history about Geodis. Lanter Logistics was originally found in the 70s and was acquired by OHL in 2015, which was a family-owned business that grew to have over 120 facilities. OHL was then bought by Geodis, which is an international company, which we are headquartered in Paris, France. Here in the United States, our headquarters is located in Brentwood, Tennessee, which is close to Nashville, Tennessee. Here at the St. Louis campus, we have 11 warehouses in the area with over 5 million square feet floor space. And our leadership has a tenure of about 24 years, which we are really proud of. And we believe it says a lot about our company that people stay here for quite some time. Next slide, please. Okay, so as you can see here, this is a list of all of our customers that we have. We have thousands of customers, but this just kind of lists more popular brands that I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with. Next slide, please. And here kind of gives you an outline of our locations in the St. Louis area. Even though we are considered the St. Louis campus, all of our warehouses are on the Illinois side. So we have one facility in Troy, Illinois. We have 6 in Edwardsville, Illinois, Pontoon Beach area, along with 2 in Granite City and 1 in Madison, Illinois. Next slide, please. So this is a list of some of the jobs that we have opening. We actually just finished up filling up all of our positions for our 4th quarter peak. However, we are always in peak, and we will be looking to start hiring for our 1st quarter peak the end of December and January. We have salary and hourly positions. Most of our positions that we hire
Hi, Jamie. Are you having some audio difficulties? Hi, Jamie. Are you having some audio difficulties? If so, you can go ahead and use the call-in number to call in. In the meantime, Alan, I think we can go ahead and transition to the next employer, and then we'll allow Jamie to have an opportunity to finish her presentation once she gets back on. And it appears that Alan is having some issues as well, so we will go ahead and move to our next employer, Sergeant Calvin Dye with the Illinois State Police. Sergeant Dye, are you available to present?
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm going to go ahead and move to your presentation. And you can begin whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay. Again, I'm Sergeant Calvin Dye Jr. from the Illinois State Police. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I've been with the Illinois State Police for 16 years. So the main thing I like to stress is, well, first and foremost, our pay is the third. A lot of people, it's like the biggest kept secret. It's the third highest paying policing job in the United States. So if you get hired with the Illinois State Police and you're never promoted, After 26 and a half years, you'll retire with a base salary around $120,000. Now, I tell everyone the hardest part about our agency is getting hired and getting through the training academy. Now, as far as the veterans goes, our criteria to get hired has changed. Um, January 1st of 2021, they did away with the bachelor's degree. So you guys are actually pretty lucky. I had to have it used to be you had to have either 3 years of military or 3 years of policing and an associate's. If you had neither, like myself, you had to have a bachelor's degree. Well, now they've changed it, and I'll just read the military requirements verbatim. So option number one for a veteran trying to begin our hiring process is if you are honorably discharged and has been awarded at least one of the qualifying medals by the United States Armed Forces. Proof must be provided on a double D 214. Option two, an active member of the Illinois National Guard or a reserve component of the United States Armed Forces and have been awarded at least one of the qualifying medals as a result of honorable service during employment on active duty. Proof must be provided on a double D 214, and all this is on the website as well. Option three or four is honorably discharged and served in a combat mission by proof of hostile fire pay or imminent danger pay during deployment on active duty. Proof must be provided on a double D 214. And the final option, this is the newest one, have at least 3 years of full, active, and continuous military duty and received an honorable discharge before hiring. Proof must be provided on a double D 214. And the qualifying medals that they're referring to, that's also on the website, is a number one, Southwest Asia Service Medal. Number two, Kosovo Campaign Medal. Number three, Korean Defense Service Medal. 4, Afghanistan Campaign Medal. 5, Iraq Campaign Medal. And 6, Global War on Terrorism Medal. So if you have one of those medals, you don't need any college, or if you had 3 years full-time military service, you don't need any college. So our hiring process is very thorough. They do a very thorough background check, more thorough than most law enforcement departments, in my opinion. They create references off of your references. We want to make sure we're getting the best of the best. They go to your old neighborhood. They check back about 15 years. They'll talk to old neighbors. Like with me 16 years ago, they made sure I was paying my student loans on time. To McKendree, if I wasn't, which I was, that could have disqualified me from the hiring process. So, I mean, I said at the very beginning, all the money, but believe me, they're going to make sure you're pretty much squeaky clean and that you've walked a straight line. So, if and when you do get hired, everybody starts off in this uniform I'm wearing. There's misconceptions that you get hired, you go right to crime scene, go right to SWAT, go right to homicide, or a specialty unit. That's not true. You have to start off. Everyone starts off on patrol on the street, and you have to wait for those vacancies to get about or to come about. Now, the greatest thing about our department, as we talk amongst each other, is all the different opportunities within the agency, since it is such a large department. No knock on local police officers or police departments, because about 20% of our department, we got 3 or 4 colonels right now that were local cops first, but they'll even tell you that, if you, with a local PD, if you go to detectives, everything's temporarily. It's only for 2 years, then you come back to the street. Well, with us, I mean, we have men and women that have made a career out of just teaching at the academy, whether it's the curriculum side, whether it's shooting, whether it's driving, whether it's physical fitness. So, I mean, you can jump off the road and say, hey, I want to teach at the academy, or I want to, train new troopers at the academy. SWAT is full time. They're funded by Homeland Security. Every 3 years, they get brand new Ford Expeditions. Crime scene is full time. Homicide's full time. We have a meth team. We actually have 8 pilots in the state. All they do is fly and do surveillance and fly the higher ranking officers around. There's just so many. It's to the point, and I'll end on this. It's to the point where if I don't run into somebody for a while, you know, say I live in the Metro East, but say I have training in Chicago and I run into someone that was in my academy class, you know, after you greet, you always say, what are you doing now? Because there's, you know, people bounce around so much because they're like, I got 16 years on. I just found out we have a governmental affairs unit, statewide intelligence unit. It's so many different things you can branch off into and do, you know, like, so if the patrol's not your thing or you don't like it or you get burnt out or you weren't that great at it, you know, we'll see people go to crime scene and shine, or go teach at the academy and shine, or they'll find their niche. There's just so many different facets to our agency, and I'll end there.
And Alan, are you able to speak? It doesn't appear that Alan is able to speak, so I'd like to thank Sergeant Dye for your presentation. I do want to reiterate that if anyone has any questions for Sergeant Dye in employment with the Illinois State Police, or Geodis, or Continental Tire for that matter, please enter your questions into the chat section and we'll get those answered for you after all of the employers have presented. Next up, we have Walgreens Distribution with Sarah Kuntz. Are you available, Sarah?
Yep, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Give me one moment.
Okay.
I'll get to your presentation and you can begin.
Perfect. All right, so my name is Sarah. I am an HR generalist at the Mount Vernon Walgreens Distribution Center. I am actually overstaffing right now. So if you want to go on to the next slide. So a little bit about us. We have about 1,400 employees here. We do have a maintenance department, asset protection, which is our security, and we've got nearly 100 managers in our building. We do service throughout the United States over 8,000 stores, and then we've got around 29,000 items in our inventory. We do have several pieces of production equipment that we have. I listed them because we have a building of about 1 million square feet, so we have a lot of equipment moving around in here. So what I really want to talk about today is, if you actually could go on to the next slide for me. Okay, so a little bit about us. So Walgreens has a long and abiding relationship with the military, which began with our founder, Charles Walgreen. And then in 2011, we actually introduced what we call WVETs, an expansion of our network of business resource groups, which help drive business results by focusing on particular segments of employees, as we refer to them. We call our employees team members. So WVETs supports team members who have serviced in the military by offering training, mentoring, and increasing engagement with other team members in our Walgreens family. So a little bit about what we do here at Walgreens. We are supply chain, so we distribute products to the stores. So once the store places an order, it is our responsibility to pick that product, ship it out to the stores for delivery. So we are the largest Walgreens distribution center in the United States. We have the most employees, 1,400, and the next largest to us is about 600 employees. So we are very busy. We are hiring like crazy right now. So that's a little bit about Walgreens, but if you want to go on down to the next slide. So I just want to briefly go over what Mount Vernon Walgreens is doing during the COVID-19 response, because I do think this is something that is important to touch on right now. So I'm not going to read all of these to you word for word, but we have basically, separated our breaks throughout the building in different locations. So everybody is maintaining social distancing. We're requiring masks, health checks upon arrival. If you want to go on down to the next one, we are sanitizing each department 4 to 5 times a day. We have checklists to make sure that it's being signed off on and it is being completed. And then we also have all of our food sales are prepackaged foods. So we are trying our absolute best to keep everybody happy and healthy at Walgreens. So if you want to go on to the next slide. So here are some pictures that I added in, just how we've been since COVID started. So Walgreens is practicing social distancing. Here are some of our janitors that we have that are cleaning, signing off on their checklist. And then, of course, everybody's wearing their masks. So if you want to go on to the next. So there are 4 main positions in our DC that I want to talk about today. Distribution center supervisor, that's one of our supervisory or management roles that we have here. That is a salaried position. We go on down to our hourly positions, which would be general warehouse person. So that would be anywhere from a split case picker, picking individual products, a shipper loader, loading the trucks, receiver checker, a full case stocker, driving equipment and putting products away. All of that is encompassed in a general warehouse position. We have security officer, or what we call asset protection. So we are trying to protect all of our products within our building. So we are hiring for that right now. And we also have maintenance positions open. So this is specific to anything in that regards: building maintenance, equipment maintenance, some of our machines, and conveyors and things like that. So those are our 4 main positions that we have right now. You can apply on jobs.walgreens.com and submit your application there. So if you want to go on down to the next slide. Okay, and then what I like to do is I like to kind of throw in kind of what our interview process looks like. So if you want to push to the next slide, Walgreens is we base all of our interviews on situational or behavioral-based interviews. We have a script that we go off of for each specific job. So although I can't provide you with the exact questions, you can think about your answers to common questions about skills and abilities. So it's helpful to always prepare for the interview by asking yourself some questions before you come, such as, what experience have I had that relate to the core competencies of this job? And then what have I done on my job, or what have I done on the job to demonstrate my knowledge of technical and non-technical components of it? So we like to stress practice the STAR format. So go on to the next page, and I can kind of explain our STAR format. So this is like your guide. You always want to explain the situation, the task, what action you took, and then the results. So we ask very behavioral-based questions. So I want the beginning, middle, and the end of the situation, and it give me all the details. So that's what's really going to push you forward and help you excel in our interviews. And then if you want to go on down. So the next example would be what we call, let's say, tell me about a project that you manage. So, you lay out the situation. You said, I was responsible for managing like ABC events. I noticed that attendance at these events had dropped by 30% over the last 3 years. Tell us what your action was. You designed a new promotional packet to go out to the local and community businesses and collected feedback, and then the result. You utilized ideas from the community, made your internal systems more efficient, and raised attendance by 18% in the first year. So that's kind of what we're looking for. We want to know the situation, what you did, so your action, and then the results of that. So, and then if you want to go one more slide. So some helpful hints in our interview, because it's probably the toughest thing. Once you get in Walgreens, we are going to welcome you with open arms, but socially distanced open arms. So we just ask that you be honest and concise in your examples, work highlights of your career and experiences into your answers. Don't ramble. Try not to say we too often. I don't want to know what a group did. I want to know what you did. Tell me about you. And then be sure to logically flow through the situation. So don't tell me the result and then the situation and then what action you took, because that is out of order. Don't give vague or general responses like I always do that. Don't give opinions or your personal beliefs. And then don't provide theoretical or, say this would happen, that kind of thing. So that is something that I thought was really important to go over with you guys, because if you do want to work at Walgreens, you do have to make it past that interview process, and that is probably the hardest thing with us. So just a little bit of an insight on how to get your foot in the door here. So on to the next slide, it just says thank you. And then I hope everybody got some information out of that PowerPoint. And then if you have any questions, I guess we can chat about it.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Sarah. Alan, are you able to speak? Does not appear that is the case, so we will move on to our next presenter. That will be State of Illinois Central Management Services. Myra, are you available to present?
Daniel?
Yep.
Okay, I was unmuting myself. Thank you.
no
Yes,
worries.
I am ready to go.
Fantastic. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to this event. Today I'll be giving you information regarding Illinois state government employment. So I'll have a variety of details and resources and insights for you all. And then I'll be going over some resources that you can leverage in the application process so that you can have the best foot going forward when you're applying for employment with the state. A lot of people don't realize that the state actually provides a broad spectrum of services. We handle legal services to the residents of Illinois, regulatory, environmental, scientific, law enforcement. You heard from state police just a few minutes ago, agricultural-based services, health-related services. So there are a lot of services that the state of Illinois and the state agencies do provide to its residents. And because of that, there are a lot of opportunities for careers within the state. Next slide. Some of the agencies that you see listed here, like IDES, Human Services, Natural Resources, State Police. So you'll see that there's a broad range in the types of agencies and the focuses in these agencies. So this actually allows for opportunities in different levels with the state agencies. We have entry-level and technical positions. You can also target senior level and management level positions. There are engineering titles that are used by some of these state agencies, technology-based titles that are used by some of these agencies. All of these agencies do have a technological department, so technology is definitely available with the state agencies as well. So there are a lot of career opportunities within the state, and a lot of people don't realize of what they are. So I'm giving you some more insight on that today. Central Management Services is a name that a lot of people hear when it comes to the state, but they're not really sure what CMS does. And what our agency does is we actually provide a lot of services to assist the other state agencies from help assistance with property management and fleet management and business procurement, etc. But relative to you all today, we do provide services associated with employment opportunities. And some of those things that CMS does for these state agencies is that we facilitate a singular platform for all the state agencies to be able to put their postings on. So you actually have one location to actually go to look for opportunities with DHS or with DCFS or with Illinois State Police when it comes to their non-trooper positions. So there are a lot of different agencies that you'll be able to see at our work.illinois.gov. So this allows the state agencies to have one set place to post their opportunities, and it allows applicants to go to one set place to view those opportunities. We also provide support with the diversity outreach and guidance. With the state agencies, we are aiming to have a diverse workforce. And so we do provide some of those resources for them with outreach, recruitment, etc. We also provide resources to the applicants who are trying to navigate this process, and I'll give you some more details on that as well. The DNI and DEP, which is the department that I work in, we work with the state agencies, and our goal is to assist in recruitment so that the state workforce is representative of the Illinois state population. We want to make sure that the workforce is diverse. We want to make sure that it is inclusive. And so there are a lot of things that are being done to strive towards that that goal. With the state employment process, right now we're in the middle of a reform. So the process that you'll encounter, and you'll see that there's a left and a right side on your screen. The main process, which is on the left, is that you'll identify a vacancy or a posting for a position. You'll fill out the CMS 100 application, and you'll actually submit it to the agency contact on a posting by either emailing it or sending it via regular post office mail, depending on what the agency has specified in the posting as to how they want to receive their application. Then once the application is received, the candidates will undergo an evaluation. And you will either take a multiple choice exam at one of our testing facilities, or you will be evaluated based off of your training and experience. And the results of that evaluation will put you on the eligibility list and line you up for the interview process. Now, what we're working on, and you'll notice that there are some pilot titles on the website, is a more streamlined process, and that's what you see on the right side. So you'll notice that there will be some opportunities through the pilot program where you'll identify the title. There will actually be an online application that does not look like the CMS 100. You will answer those questions online. You will submit your answer to those questions, which will in essence be your application via the posting link. And then your evaluation will be based off of the information that you've provided in your online submission. So that's when you'll be able to utilize items such as your resume and elaborate on your answers to those questions with regards to your application. And then based on that evaluation of that online submission, that will line you up to the interview process for those titles within the pilot program. So we're working on trying to make this process more efficient, more effective. We do understand that, for a lot of people, the experience with this process has been very lengthy, a lot of steps, a bit of confusion. So we're working on making that a more effective and more efficient process for you all to go through. In the meantime, there are a lot of resources that the state does offer to assist you in navigating this process. So we do offer career counseling. And with the career counseling, you can actually submit your application to CMS for assistance in navigating this process. So you can email it to them, and then your application will be assigned to a career counselor. Then it will be reviewed. They will let you know what are some recommendations as far as details you might want to add on your application, any mistakes you might have on your application so that you can correct them. And they will give you recommendations of the titles that you should be targeting that would be an appropriate match for your training and experience. So when the career counseling is over, you know what titles you need to target and what steps you need to target to get started on the to target those titles so you can get started on the application process. So it's really helpful in making sure that you hit the ground running and cuts through a lot of the extra information that can make it a little bit confusing when you're looking through the web. We do also have a successful disabilities opportunities program for individuals that have disabilities. The state does provide accommodations when it comes to the evaluation process. And then once they become state employees, there are reasonable accommodations that are provided at that point as well. The Disability Resource Center can be contacted via email through the email that's listed here. But on our website, when you go to work.illinois.gov, you will actually see a link that says Disabled Workers Program that will provide you a lot more detail on not only the Disability Resource Center, the SC program, and will give you more contact information for reaching out to that department to get your questions answered. The state also does have a Veterans Outreach Program because under the Illinois law, these qualified veterans are entitled to points added to their passing grades and also may receive appointment for preference. And we do have an email address that you can reach out to for questions regarding this, but I am going to elaborate a little bit more on this in the next slide. So veterans get points added to their scores. And so this is really important, really helpful for veterans to leverage because if you go in and take an exam and you miss an A by 1 or 2 points, those veteran points could be the ones that get you into that A list and put you at the top of the list for consideration for that position. So it's really important that you establish your veteran status. You only have to do it once with the state through CMS. After that, your status stays in there indefinitely. So every time you apply, you will get your points and preference added to that title that you're getting a grade for. Recently, legislation extended the preference to National Guard and Reserve forces that have been serving more than 4 years, regardless of whether the person was mobilized into active duty or not. And previously that was not the case. There was the active duty mobilization requirements, and now this has been opened up to allow veterans who served a minimum of 4 years in the National Guard or Reserves to also receive these points of preference when applying for state employment. Now, all veterans are required to submit specific documentation to establish their preference, and the Veterans Outreach Program can be reached via email, but there's also a link on our website that will give you phone numbers that you can utilize as well. Right now, because of the COVID situation, we do have limited staff in the offices, so sometimes you will have a quicker response via the email than calling our offices, but definitely try the different options as far as reaching out to the department to get your questions answered and to get your veteran status established, so that as you start applying for employment with the state, you get your points and your preference added onto your grade. Next.
Sorry
One
to
thing
interrupt,
that you all
Myra.
have-
We do have
Yeah.
about 1 more minute before we have to move to our
Yep.
next presenter.
No problem. I'm wrapping it up right now. One thing that you all want to also make note of is that a lot of the state agencies are moving to more virtual engagement, and they are moving to more providing more information via social media platforms. So do keep an eye out for the state agencies and the different platforms because they are posting insight onto their agencies, information about different departments and other information that would be helpful to you in preparing not only for the interviews, but also getting insight on the agencies to see what you want to target. And then I have one more slide. CMS itself does have a LinkedIn page, so you can definitely go onto our page to see information regarding the free webinars that they have, the informational posts, and information regarding vacancy notifications that they add onto that page as well. If you do have any questions regarding today's presentation, you can also reach out to myself, Daniel. My name is Myra Magana. That is my email and phone number. I would encourage you to reach out to me via email if you have any questions regarding today's presentation, regarding the process or resources that are available to you through CMS. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Myra. Our last employer today will be Belleville Boot Company, and speaking for them will be Colby Castillo, their Human Resources Manager.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to talk a little bit about our company. We are a military boot manufacturer that was established in 1904. And a lot of people don't realize that our headquarters are located in Belleville, Illinois. We have 2 plants in Arkansas as well, one in Forest City, Arkansas, and our other Arkansas location is in DeWitt, Arkansas. We have just purchased another boot manufacturing facility that we have opened up in Carthage, Missouri. We currently are hiring in our Belleville location for all 3 shifts. We're a 24-hour facility. We work 6 days a week. Because we are so busy at this present time, being an essential business, we have really tried to increase our workforce. We work 40 hours a week at least. We have several different benefits available. We have medical, dental, vision, life, and 401k. We also offer a profit share, which is a quarterly bonus program that benefits the employees. The harder we work, the better our profits are. It's shared within all of our employees. If you have any questions for me, or if you are interested in the company, please go to our website at bellevilleboot.com. There is a tab for jobs that you can apply for, and there are different jobs listed as general production. And depending on your experience, we have warehouse positions, we have cutting positions, we have our packing department, and also we have our manufacturing machine positions. So depending on what your interest is, we can go into that during your interview process. So if you have any questions for us, please look us up on our website. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Colby. That actually will conclude our employer presentation section. So we will actually be transitioning into the Q&A session, and how that will work, just for all of you still on the call. I will go through the chat section and address any sort of questions that were posed by the participants. And then once we do that, if we do run out of participant questions, we will actually transition to just a standard list of general questions that I have. And how we'll work through that is we'll just work sequentially through each of the employers, starting with Continental Tire and then ending with Belleville Boot Company. With that said, the first question that I actually do have is for Calvin Dye with the State Police. And Calvin, this individual asks, what are the age requirements of state police?
If you meet the, can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
If you, there's no cutoff, so you can be 50, 60, 70 years old. As far as the minimum, if you turn, you can get hired for our training academy at age 20, as long as within the academy is 6 months, 26 weeks long. As long as we actually have an academy going now and there's a female in there that is 20, but next in December, as long as you turn 21 while you're in the academy, you're good to go. And as far as like I said, there's no cutoff. So if you're in your 40s, we actually have a 47-year-old male in there right now. You know, and they're in week 6, so there's no cutoff. So hopefully that answers the question.
Absolutely, thank you. The next question that I do have is for Sarah with Walgreens, and this individual asks, are you hiring only in the Mount Vernon area for Walgreens? And it does not appear that we have Sarah on the call still. So what we will go ahead and do now is just transition to some of the generalized questions that I have. And I do want to encourage everyone that's still on the call, if you have any questions for any of the folks who presented here today, please feel free to enter those into the chat section. We'll get those answered for you. You have a prime opportunity now to get any sort of information that you'd like from any of the representatives who presented here today. So please take advantage of that while you have it. Starting with Continental Tire, Bridget, can you just kind of elaborate on how long your hiring process takes from the point of submitting an application to the point of actually being hired?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, so once you apply, the first step will be to go through a phone interview. Usually that's a pretty quick process, usually within about 1 week or so. You should receive a response from us. If everything goes well with the phone interview, they will set you up then for an in-person interview, go through all of that with the department typically. And then usually they'll make an offer anywhere from on the spot to about a week later. It just kind of depends per department and what their needs are. And they'll set you up, have you come in, do a drug screen, and then get you started usually within about 2 weeks or so, roughly. So all in all, you're looking at probably about a month or so, give or take a little bit, depending on a couple things.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bridget. And I'm not sure
Sure.
if we still have Jamie on the call or not, but I'll go ahead and pose that for you. Jamie with Geodis, are you available to answer that question? It does not appear that we have Jamie, so I'll move on to our next employer, Calvin with the Illinois State Police. Hi, Calvin. Are you available to answer that question? Does not appear that he is available at the moment, so we'll move to Myra with CMS.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. The process varies. For some of the pilot programs, they're trying to get the process down to from the moment the applicant applies to the moment to the point that they're interviewed in less than 45 days. For the other processes, it is longer, just because we do have some evaluation steps that do need to be conducted. That are being slowed down by COVID and trying to adhere to the limitations and for everyone's safety. So there is no set time frame at this time, and it is a little bit lengthy. But with the pilot programs, they will give them an estimated timeline for those because they are undergoing a different process that is completely online, which is allowing them to move through that a little bit faster. So the end goal will be under 45 days. Unfortunately, that's not the case for all of the positions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Myra. And Sergeant Dye.
Can everybody hear me?
Looks like we might have a connectivity issue, so hopefully.
Can everybody hear me?
We can now, yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I was available. I just, my audio had froze. So your questions about the hiring process?
Yeah, how long does that time frame typically take?
It obviously it varies. But typically, I get asked that quite frequently. It's rather lengthy. So you'll take a physical fitness test first. And if you pass that, you move on to the written. And everything with our hiring process is done through, we have what you call a merit board. It's made up of 7 men and women, and they're state police, but they basically do all of our hiring and firing. So all the communication is done through them. So if you pass the physical and the written, then you move on to a background check. And like I said earlier, those are pretty thorough and intense. Where they interview the applicant. They interview the applicant last. So I always tell people, do not lie, because they're gonna know everything about you. They'll talk to old neighbors, they'll talk to references, they'll create references. They do neighborhood canvas, they do a social media check, pretty much cover everything from head to toe on you. So if you pass that background, then you move on to oral interviews. Once you pass the oral interviews, you have a hearing test, vision test. You get interviewed by a psychologist, and then it's up to the merit board. I saw where people have passed all of that, and you have to be certified to start the academy class. I saw where people still don't get certified, but essentially, if you pass all of that, all of those documents go to the merit board, and those 7 men and women decide if you're certified to become a state trooper and start our training academy. So it usually takes, I always, at least, I've seen it all done in about 4 months, and I've seen it, like with me, it took about 8 months. So, because they have to cover so many different things. So it's not real quick. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. The next employer that we have up for that question is actually Belleville Boot Company. Colby, are you available to answer that question?
Yes, it basically depends on the applicant. Once the applicant fills out the application, then the applicant is within a few days is called and notified and emailed, and we set up a interview process. As long as everything is good with the interview process, then they go on, and depending on their availability for the drug test, and then once that's clear, then we go on to the onboarding process. It can be as little as a week's time, as long as the applicant has time to complete their processes in the whole hiring gamut that we have to do. So it can be as little as a week.
Fantastic. Thank you, Colby. And I actually am going to pivot now back to a single employer question. And this is actually for Bridget with Continental Tire. This individual asks, are you only hiring for Continental Tire in Mount Vernon?
Hey, so I specifically only recruit for the Mount Vernon location. However, we do have positions, like I said, globally. So all of those, it's basically the same hiring process. So you can go online to our website and just filter into any location or specialty that interests you. And by all means, definitely apply for those. And one of our recruiters will contact you. We all follow a pretty similar process to the one that we laid out as far as the phone screen and then the interview. So definitely, if there's something at another location that interests you, feel free to apply for that for sure.
Thank you so much, Bridget. And now we will actually pivot back to just some questions that will be posed for each one of the employers that are still on the call. The question that I have for you, kind of given the state of affairs with the world currently, a lot of folks are interested in knowing if there's any sort of remote work opportunities available with any of your respective organizations. We'll start with Bridget and then work our way to the final employer, which will be Colby with Belleville. Bridget?
Hi, I'm sorry, can you repeat what the question was?
Yeah, is there any opportunities for remote work that you have available currently?
Oh, yeah. All of our positions will be on site. We are in touch with our corporate location about adding in possibly remote opportunities in the future. But at this time, all of our main opportunities in production would be on site at our location.
Thank you, Bridget. Calvin with ISP.
Like I indicated earlier, once you graduate the training academy, everybody is sent out to the road. Everyone starts on the street, and obviously that's not remote. So no, if you're hired as a trooper, you'll be out on the street on the road.
Thank you, sir. Myra with CMS.
It depends. So some of the agencies will have the opportunity depending on the department and the needs in the department. Everything has to be in compliance, of course, with COVID regulations and everyone's safety. So there are some positions that may start out remote, but then once everything reaches back to normality and we go into other phases, they may be brought back into the office. So it will depend on the department that hires them and the department's needs, and staying in line with the safety requirements associated with COVID.
Thank you so much, Myra. And Colby with Belleville.
Currently are only hiring for on-site jobs at this time.
Thank you, Colby. And we'll actually build off that question as well here. I know a lot of folks too, given the pandemic, are kind of concerned with safety precautions. Can each of the employees that are still on the call here just kind of elaborate on what you all are doing to, enforce those safety precautions? Are you providing PPE, requiring, social distance be maintained, so on and so forth? Bridget, we'll begin with you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've taken a lot of precautions to keep our employees safe. Of course, that's our number one priority. So we are 100% mask usage here at the Mount Vernon plant. We've also done a lot to enforce social distancing within the plant as well. So that's a big thing. Some of our other Continental locations have actually even started manufacturing masks. So that's something we're doing to help assist during the pandemic. So yeah, a lot of basic things, but we're definitely taking it very seriously. And all of our employees are, of course, our top concern.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bridget. ISP with Calvin Dye. Looks like you got a little bit of a lag, Calvin. So in the meantime, while that gets worked out. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. From the academy standpoint, everybody seems to be curious about that. How are we running a paramilitary academy during COVID? Every in there trying to become a trooper, they have to wear a classroom. Believe it or not, even when they're doing physical training, they have to keep the mask on. They have to keep their social distancing. The dormitories at the academy, it almost looks like an ICU room where we have bunk beds. Each cadet has like sheets and curtains around their bed, and they're only putting 3 in a room where there's usually about 8 to 10. So they're definitely taking the necessary steps, and all these suggestions got made by the main doctor with the Illinois State Police. As far as employees, like I said earlier, the road troopers have to be out there every time they're out of their vehicle. They have to have the N95 on and rubber gloves. As far as like detectives and crime scene people that have, offices when they're not out investigating, it was left up to each colonel of each division if they wanted to allow them to work remote from home. And I believe almost all of them said yes. So if you don't have to go to an interview or a crime scene, or the lab to check on evidence or DNA, they are given the option to work remotely from home because they could pretty much type up reports and answer emails and things from home. So like I'm in recruitment and I'm out and about today, but I also was advised, from my supervisor that I'm allowed to work from home if I need to. So
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Myra with CMS.
Yes, they are taking proper precautions. For example, with the testing center, they've significantly limited the amount of people that they are allowing to test. They're only allowing people to test that were scheduled in advance. Staff has been provided with PPE at the office. Plexiglass was put up at the front desk for everyone's safety. Masks are worn at all times. The amount of people allowed in the building is limited to ensure that it is within the maximum capacity relative to the phase that we're in at any given time. And there is remote work enacted. So I'm currently working remotely. A lot of the staff are working remotely and or are being rotated in to ensure that we're within the capacity limits for everyone's safety.
Thank you, Myra. And Colby.
Implemented temperature checks and symptom checks every morning, afternoon, and evening whenever our employees come to work. We added in additional break times and lunch times, so it would allow the employees to be able to be social distance at the lunchroom tables. We also, during breaks and lunches, we sanitize the machines and the work areas of the employees while they are out of the general production area. We also have added in an EnviroMaster to come in and spray and scan and sanitize weekly. So those are the items that we have done to help the safety of our employees.
Fantastic. Thank you, Colby. And I just did want to mention real quick, Colby, it sounds like you're having a little bit of issues with your microphone. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. The next question that I do have for each of the employers is, can you kind of elaborate on how a candidate might be able to stand out and get an interview with your organization, assuming they are qualified? Is there anything perhaps in a resume that they might want to highlight, any sort of character or personality traits maybe that they want to emphasize, so on and so forth? Any sort of tips that you might suggest? Bridget with Continental, you can begin.
Yeah, so the main thing we're looking for in a candidate is someone with steady work history. I know we're also doing a veterans hiring event right now, so I will say we always love to hire people with veteran work history. So definitely include that on your application and resume. My only other tip would be we receive a shocking amount of applications that don't have a working phone number. So as basic as that sounds, please be sure that you do have all your contact information up to date and have your voicemail set up, all that kind of stuff, so that we are able to reach you. So as simple as that sounds, it's an issue that we run into a lot. So that's my main tip.
Thank you, Bridget. Sergeant Dye with ISP.
The only advice I would have is you know, if you do make it to the background, like I said, it's very thorough and intense. Don't lie. They'll interview the applicant last after they've talked to everyone they possibly could have talked to, and if they catch somebody in a lie, yeah, you'll get disqualified. I mean, I've saw applicant pools where we've had 800 or 900 pass the written and physical agility, and after the background is down to about 350. You know, don't post anything that even the social media checks are very intense. And like I say, we create references. So if you put a best friend down, we'll ask that best friend, you know, to give us, you know, who else do you know that knows him or her? And a lot of times when we go talk to that mutual friend that they didn't put down, you know, they'll tell us some dirt on them. And then when we get to the interview part, the person lies about it. So only thing I can say is try to keep a clean background. And, you know, if you do have something in your background, don't try to lie about it, because once they sit you down to interview you, they will already know. It's almost like a trap to see if you have any integrity issues.
Thank you, Calvin. Myra with CMS.
The process is pretty structured. So a lot of it is based off of the qualifications that people provide. So what I would recommend that you do is, especially when you're filling out the applications or when you're answering the questions, is be very thorough, be very specific about your examples. Don't use vague statements. A lot of people tend to say, well, I'm proficient in this, or I have management experience, or I managed 5 people, or I have office skills. And none of that is assumed. You have to be very specific and very intentional about your duties and responsibilities, both in the application and also when you're in the interviews. If you get to the interview point, that means that you've already done the evaluation, so they already know that you're qualified. At that point, they're interviewing you for your fit for the vacancy itself. So the questions are going to be based off of the vacancy that they are trying to fill. So I would recommend that you familiarize yourself, 1, with the agency, 2, read the job description of that position, and 3, make sure that you have a clear library of items that you know of your experience that are related to that position, because they're not going to say, hey, tell me more about your time at such and such place. They're going to give you questions like, you know, here's an example of something the position does. What experience do you have related to it? And so you need to be very clear, very direct when you're answering the questions, and concise, because if you ramble on, you might lose them. If you don't give enough information, they're not going to assume anything you didn't say, both in the interview and in the application. So clarity is super important. Thoroughness, very important. You know, and when you're in the interviews, make sure you're listening to the questions. If you need a moment to gather your thought before you answer it, totally, you're at liberty to do so. So you want to make sure that when you're answering the question, you're answering the question that you were asked, and not just telling them about experience that you want them to hear about, because you're being evaluated based on your responses to those questions.
Thank you so much, Myra. And Colby with Belleville Boot Company.
I am going to agree with Bridget that one of the problems that we have is phone numbers will not be accurate, or an applicant will not have their voicemail set up. So it's very difficult for us to get in contact with them. So something so basic is ultimately very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Colby. And I'm actually going to transition to one final question for each of the employers here today. Before I do pose that question to them, I do want to reiterate, if anyone remaining on the call would like to ask any questions of any of the employers who are still on the call here today, please feel free to enter those into the chat and we'll get those answered for you. The final question that I have for you all is, what are the opportunities for advancement within your organization? And then perhaps you might be able to highlight any sort of success stories that you might be aware of, and that could even include perhaps your own. Bridget, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that's another great question. So we do definitely like to promote from within. So we have a lot of success stories here of people who started out at the production level and worked their way up into many management positions. One of my favorite ones to tell is actually our current plant manager, Nick Pierce. He started out in an hourly maintenance position. Worked his way up, ended up actually going to Romania for an assignment as a plant manager there, and then came back, and he's been the plant manager here for about 2 years, I believe now. So yeah, definitely lots of opportunities to do that, especially with the educational opportunities that we offer. Like I said, myself personally, I've done it to go back and get my bachelor's, and so really the sky's the limit. Whatever you want to do, there are plenty of opportunities for that.
Fantastic, thank you. And Sergeant Dye with the ISP.
Our promotional process, we don't have as many ranks as the military. We have a lot less. So the first one, trooper to sergeant, is by far the hardest one to make because there's a lot more people competing. And the way that the process works, it goes, you get evaluated every April amongst your supervisors. There's usually about 8 to 10 supervisors in the room. And each category is out of 9 points and it's 9 categories for 81 points. Efficiency under stress, problem solving, written communication, oral communication, organizational pride, decision making, etc. You're not in the room. All the superiors, your immediate supervisor will be speaking on your behalf for each category, but all of the superiors in the room have to agree on your number. So they take that score, and we're given a written test. And my goodness, it is hard. It's a lot of reading material. We're given a written test every 2 years. So they take those two. So 50% your written test, 50% is that evaluation, and they come up with a list. And depending on how many people in your work unit, some units may be only 6 people, some may be 60 or 70. You have to be in the top 55%. So you'll either have a Y next to your name for yes, you're eligible for promotion, or an N, which is a no. It took me 16 years. I just got promoted this year back in February. Some people, I've seen people get it in 5 or 6. That's uncommon, but it's well worth it. Like I say, it's a lot, sometimes you're not always happy with your number. Sometimes you don't do well on the test. I've been on both ends, but it's well worth it just for getting promoted from trooper to sergeant. It's extra $12,000 a year in my pocket. I mean, that's a lot of money. Once I found that out, I saw why it was so competitive. Then sergeant to master sergeant is an extra $14,000. Master Sergeant to Lieutenant is the extra six. I mean, it's a lot of money. And I'll wrap up with so for Sergeant and Master Sergeant, you only need the associate's degree. Anything higher than Master Sergeant, you have to so Lieutenant and above, which would be Lieutenant, Captain, Major, Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel, you have to have a bachelor's. But Sergeant and Master Sergeant only an associates.
Thank you so much for that, Sergeant Dye. CMS with Myra.
Yep, there's actually a lot of opportunities to promote with the state. You connect because we're dealing with a network of, over 45 agencies. A person can essentially start out at a position at one agency, we'll say DHS, for example, and they can promote within that agency, or they can actually promote to another position within another one of the state agencies. And all of that will carry. So the state agencies under the governor will have that opportunity where somebody will be able to move into another position within another agency and not lose everything that they gained within that other previous position. As far as a success story, I actually came in, and when I started working, I was an HR associate. So I actually worked in the test center. And then promoted to a rep where I was able to provide career counseling. And now I do outreach. And this was all within the same agency. So I've been able to promote into 3 different positions. I'm actually working now for the department that provided me with career counseling when I was trying to apply for the state. Because like a lot of people, I had no idea where to start or, what I needed to do. So that guidance with the career counseling was super helpful in identifying what titles I should be targeting and getting my grades for those titles and getting started on the process. So there's opportunities to promote both within the agencies and also to promote across through the different agencies, especially with the positions that are within the state agencies under the governor and associated with the bargaining units too.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Myra. And
one more thing.
Yeah.
There's also, sorry.
No worries.
For state employees, there is also an internal program called the Upward Mobility Program that works with state employees that have already been certified, which means that they've completed their probationary period. And what that program does is if somebody gets enrolled in it, they work with a counselor from that program to identify a targeted title that they want to get to and helps them plan out the path to get to that title. And they also do work with some tuition assistance and different types of getting different ways of getting the certifications to get to that end goal of reaching that title. So there's a lot that people can definitely leverage to move up.
Fantastic. Thank you, Myra. And finally, we have Belleville Boot Company. Colby, can you answer that question as well?
Yes, of our 10 plant management positions that we have currently, 9 of them started on the plant floor. So there is a lot of opportunity to move up in our company.
Fantastic. Thank you, Colby. And with that, we will go ahead and conclude the Q&A session. I just do want to reiterate, if anyone has any additional questions between now and the end of this webinar, please feel free to enter those into the chat, and we will actually forward those to each of the employers that were on the session here today. Next up, we have a brief presentation from IDES regarding various veteran services that are available. Moses, are you available to present, sir?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Hi. Greetings. I'm Moses Holman. My job at the Illinois Department of Employment Security is Veteran Career Coach / Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Specialist. I have been with IDES since 2018. I served in the United States Marine Corps branch of the U.S. military as an infantryman and later as an aviation operations clerk. The Illinois Department of Employment Security appreciates the selfless service of our U.S. military service members and their spouses. And if you could go to the next slide. So the objective of this presentation is to the introduction of jobs for veterans, state grant program, veteran career coach, DVOP, disabled veteran outreach program specialist, and information on the veteran business specialist, LVER, which stands for local veteran employment resource specialist. Okay, if we can go to the next slide, please. The state of Illinois receives a JVSG annually to fund the JVSG program, which consists of two groups of veterans employment representatives. The first group, of which I am one, is the Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Specialist. There are 22 authorized. And the second group are local veteran employment representatives, LEVER. There's 18 authorized. The number of positions are based on the annual grant funding amount. And if we could go to the next slide. The Veteran Career Coach, or DVOP, is specifically trained to provide assistance to our veterans most in need. Our core functions are, number one, to conduct an assessment interview with each veteran that self-attests to one or more significant barrier or barriers to employment, collaborate and create an individual employment plan with the veteran, develop client interviews through job orders for the veterans, and partner with the veteran business specialist, or the lever, to develop job opportunities directly with area employers. We'll go to the next slide, please. The veteran business specialist, or the lever, primary focuses are to promote the advantages of hiring veterans, develop job opportunities for veterans that are working with the Veterans Career Coach, advocate for all veterans within their American Job Center's operational area, and in partnership with the Veteran Career Coach, the DVOP, train the American Job Center staff and partners on how to provide employment services to the veterans. Next slide, please. Thank you for your time. Please visit our IDES website. If you have any questions about IDES, visit Illinois Job Link if you're searching for a job or have a job opportunity to post. Thank you for your time today, and I'll be forwarding it on.
Thank you, Moses. My name is David Garvey. Hello, everyone. I work with Southern Illinois University's Center for Workforce Development and Illinois WorkNet. I wanted to remind you all that today's session is being recorded and will be made available on the employer booth pages in our virtual job fair area for each of the employers who presented today. And the links to the employer booth pages have been shared in the chat. I also wanted to provide a brief overview of the Get Hired website, and this can be reached by entering illinois.gov/gethired. I'll share that in the chat as well. And so Get Hired is a web portal that has been designed to connect workers with available job and career training opportunities across the state of Illinois. And to go through this page and where some of these buttons go, this Job Seekers Click Here button, this will take you to the landing page of the website Illinois Job Link, where you can search for other job postings in Illinois. The virtual job fairs button will take you to the landing page for the virtual job fair tool on Illinois WorkNet, and this is where you can find employers in Illinois who are hiring, and you can see their employer booth page, and you can search by keyword, by industry, by location. With this hashtag veterans, you can see the employers who have presented this week, as well as a few others. And you can learn more about their employment opportunities as well. If you click this VJF events button, this will take you to a calendar view of the previous and upcoming virtual job fair events. And so you can just click on one of these entries and register on the link that's provided here. And just kind of as a reminder, and I'll share this this link in the chat rather. There is a session in the afternoon for additional employers who are hiring and do work with veterans as well. And that will be taking place from 2 to 3 o'clock. So you can register for that in the link provided in the chat just now. And the online training opportunities on the Get Hired site, if you click that, that'll take you to this Illinois WorkNet page for the training quick start guide. And on this page, you can learn more about the different options that are available to you, from community colleges to WIOA approved training programs, other public and private programs, and apprenticeships. And below these buttons on Get Hired, there's some additional resources, including applying for unemployment insurance. And finally, I also want to make note of the Veterans Assistance Guide available on Illinois WorkNet. This is accessible on the homepage of Illinois WorkNet, but you can also access it by typing illinoisworknet.com/vets. And this guide includes information and resources such as how to connect to benefits and services, translating skills that you've earned in your service to the workforce, and preparing to search for a job. Additionally, we do link to other pages that offer an abundance of resources available to veterans and their spouses. And I'd like to point out that all the resources that have been mentioned are free to use for job seekers and will be accessible through Get Hired Illinois and Illinois WorkNet site well beyond this week's events. And with that, I believe we will close out this morning session, and I do want to turn it over to Richard with IDES for any final remarks to share. Richard?
I'd like to thank everyone for taking part in today's Veterans Virtual Recruitment Series. Just as it was put into the chat box, I'd like to remind everybody that we have one more session this afternoon with a new employer panel. And the employers this afternoon will be Libman, Schneider National, and Stevens Industry Incorporated. Take care and have a great rest of your day.